Welcome, everyone, to podcast number 1 of the 2020 baseball season. It is March 7th. I'm the Siege, and I'm sitting with my good buddy, Dusty. You can follow him on Twitter at Wagner. I should have had this planned up a little better. At Wagner13454. How are you, buddy?
Man, I'm doing awesome. Vegas is in like a week and a half, 2 weeks.
10 days.
This time,
I leave in 10
2
days.
weeks from now, we'll just be both just obliterated. So it'll be great.
Well, no, I'll be hungover in 2 weeks from now, right? Because that'll be Midnight Madness, and then I'll be on my way to the main event. And yeah, that's main event. When do we get our spots for main event? Isn't that like today or tomorrow? Where we get our
No. So it's like 5 days before you draft.
Man, I'm ready to go.
Yeah,
I'm ready for main event season. There's a couple players that are just like starting to trend up that are playing too well, and I'm just like, please, can you just get rocked one time? Just get rocked one time in spring training. Like, I used to get this guy like on every draft, and now like people are starting to leapfrog me for him. I'm just like, ugh.
You know what's crazy is, honestly, I don't even look at spring training numbers ever. Like,
it's just so frustrating when it's the guys that you already liked and you didn't care what he did in spring training.
I'll
tell you one. I'll tell you who my highest owned player right now is. I have 11 shares of Nathan Eovaldi. I was all in from like the moment of go. I was all in on Nathan Eovaldi, and the guy just can't stop striking out 4 every 3 innings he pitches. Just stop.
Hey, you and me, buddy. I think I outbid you on.
Yeah, that was one of the few teams I don't have him in. Like, that's my highest owned guy, and he'll be my highest owned guy. Like, I will chase him up the board.
Yeah, he's gonna jump up in drafts.
I know
for sure in March.
Could you just get shelled, please? Just get shelled, like right when people are starting paying attention next week. It's all I need you to do. Just get shelled once. That's all I need you to do. But that's not what we're gonna cover today. We're not gonna cover favorite players. I'm actually gonna steal a podcast from our good buddy Scott Genstad. He did over on the RotoWire podcast. It was last Friday, and it was actually like the best podcast I think I've ever listened to. I was on a plane back from Florida, and I literally stopped the podcast, took out my laptop, and started taking notes. And it was just incredible. And what it was a player or two at pitcher and outfield that you're fading at ADP. And we're not going to pick someone at like pick 250. That doesn't help anyone. So we're going to replicate the podcast because I enjoyed it. And I figured if I enjoyed it, some other people did as well. So we'll kind of create a second version of it. We have another week of spring training data. And I've got a really hot take we're going to start with right out of the gate, too.
I can't wait for this.
All right, so we're going to start at pitching. Normally people do pitching last, but I just have a general pitching. I kind of want to call it a rant. But this is kind of something that's really only come out in the last few days that they're actually going to do this. So my biggest faded ADP right now is Blake Snell. He's going as pitcher number 14 off the board, ADP of 47.5, min of 26, max of 67. And this is lower than it was just because of the injury. And I was fading him before this. If MLB is serious about banning substances on the baseball, which it certainly sounds like they're going to. The Angels just fired their visiting clubhouse manager they had employed for 25 years for this. If baseball's really going to crack down on this, league-wide whips are going up. You know how many pitchers are using this stuff? What do you think? Like 75% at least?
No idea. I'm not going to even try to attempt to guess.
And so when it comes to whip guys this year, I'm going to take the guys that like I believe actually have good control. And that's not Blake Snell. Like, we have a season of Blake Snell under his belt already where his whip was through the roof. He had a 1.62 in 2016, a 1.33 in 2017. He had that incredible .97 whip year, and then had a 1.27 last year. I think people are just buying the 2018 outlier too much here. Like, I think he's going to be a 1.35 whip guy, and if he's going to be that, he's not worthy of a pick here in the first 3 or 4 rounds.
Well, I vehemently disagree with you. Snell, I've actually loved this whole injury thing, everybody getting scared off of him. So, like, yes, keep dropping. Like, I get your take on Blake Snell a little bit, but, like, I'm not necessarily buying him for his whip, even though I don't think his whip is going to be a problem. I have him as my top 4, and even with this quote-unquote so-called injury, like, I haven't even bumped him down at all. Like, after talking to him all winter, I've kind of gotten a little take, and by me saying talking to him, like, he has a Twitch channel, like he has viewers, and and it's usually a small crowd of like 30 to 50 in his Twitch channel. So it's like, if you really want to get to know Blake Snell, show up on his Twitch channel like throughout the winter, and you can pretty much ask him anything and everything. So I can kind of read between the lines in all his interviews, and I like, just by seeing the baseline Blake Snell over the course of the winter, he's not worried about this at all. And I personally think that they don't even really want him pitching as much in spring training because they want to save his innings for the regular season. Now, is the injection fake? Absolutely not. Yes, I know injections at elbows are far horrible, but like, for me, Blake Snell, I'm buying. I don't care about any of that nonsense. Like, he's an ace.
Yeah, I knew this was going to be a hot take. I knew you were going to vehemently disagree on me with Blake Snell. We got in this very heated argument about this player last year, and I had a suspicion that your opinion hadn't changed very much since last year. So I figured that would be a good place to start. All right, Dusty, who is the pitcher that you're fading at ADP? Let's just say up to like the top 80 in ADP, or like 80 spots in ADP.
Yeah, so he's right at 80. But I think he's going to jump up in these March drafts. I haven't been on him once all year. I've never really gotten him. He's just kept going up and going up. But that's Brandon Woodruff. Like, to me, he's always been that 5-inning, 6-inning guy max. Like I don't know. I guess I'm missing on what everybody else is seeing. Like, to me, I think he's like closer to a 4 ERA guy. Like, if you go look at, Steamer and Zips and the Bat, like, all of them are projecting close to a 4 ERA. His home ballpark isn't that great. Like, I don't know. What am I missing with them?
I don't know. I have no shares either. This was the other player I was considering doing, but I knew Blake Snell would get a better reaction out of you. So I'm glad we're talking about Woodruff too. I don't understand why Brandon Woodruff's going above Sonny Gray to me. That makes no sense. Like, one player we knew was always really good in Sonny Gray, and that New York situation was just a disaster. Went to Cincy. They used Driveline. They have his former pitching coach from Vandy. He had a great season last year. And all he's been talking about in the offseason is he needs to throw his slider more. And his slider's his best pitch. If he's going to throw his slider even more this year, I think there's even more room for growth than last year. And even at pitcher 32, we're not even buying last year. So there's just no way that I would ever take Brandon Woodruff over Sonny Gray. So, like, I'm just never going to end up with Brandon Woodruff at that point. Because Sonny Gray is still going 13 picks below average than Brandon Woodruff. So I'm with you. I don't see the hype. I think that the innings, too, I think people are projecting too many innings. I think the ceiling is 160.
Yeah, I mean, I can see him getting to 180. But even then, it's like, I don't know. I don't even think 180 is worth that price. But again, it's just one of those players I'm going to pay and let somebody else try to beat me with him. And if he does, he does. But I'm just not going to own him.
Yeah, there's another player that between 100 and 150 that we're going to kind of talk about. We're going to do two pitchers here. And this is a player that I just have never understood. I didn't understand the hype last year. So maybe I'm just wrong on the player. But I don't understand the Frankie Montas love. Like, he's pitched basically no more than 96 innings in any major league season. He was having a career year, but then he was on performance-enhancing drugs. Like, that matters. I just don't see the ceiling. Like, why is he being treated differently than, like, a Luzardo or an AJ Puck, right? I feel like they're going to throw the same amount of innings, kind of have the same amount of stuff, and yet, like, Montas is going way above those guys. I don't quite understand what the difference between the three of them is.
Well, I think the difference between Luzardo and Montas, I think, they pretty much all the projection sites have Montas for 180. Luzardo's more like in the 150 range. So I think it's the 30 extra innings that are the difference between those two. But my question is for you, have you actually seen Frankie Montas pitch?
Yeah, but like, I don't know. Like, it felt like 1 year wonder-ish to me. Like, I know that sounds crazy, but like,
yeah, I mean, the buying point is last year he looked amazing after adding that third pitch, and that was kind of what jumped him and made him special, is adding that third pitch. Now his stuff is amazing, and who knows, what the drugs, do for him. But I personally go a different route myself. Like, I don't own any shares of Frankie Montas by any means, but I'm not opposed to taking him. But I can see him being a little bit of a riser too come in a couple weeks.
I think so. Like, and I'm kind of just with all the projection systems, like 170 K per 9 below 9, ERA around 4, and I'm just like, meh. Like, I don't think that's really worthy of a pick at this point. Like, give me one of the elite closers. Like, give me Kenley Jansen, who I think is one of the more criminally underdrafted players in fantasy this year. Like, give me Kenley Jansen over Frankie Montas, like, every time. A different situation. I understand different, like, position, different team need, but, like, I would also just take, like, Lance Lynn, Zach Gallen. I don't want to pay the helium on Montas, and I think you're right, too. I think the price is even going to go up in March, and I'm quite okay with that.
It's funny. So, like, I've just hated the whole Lance Lynn thing, as far as just where he's going. Like, what has made him a different pitcher than what he's been his entire career? Like, why are people on him? He's always gone around 250 to 300 in ADP every year. And it's like, yeah, I get that he started using his four-seamer more, but it's like, he's the same guy that he's always been.
So you just don't think the strikeout rate increase was real? Because, like, that's the big thing, right? He went from a guy that was under a strikeout per inning to a guy that was well over it last season.
Yeah, and, like, I'm not buying that at all. Like, if he pitches 200 innings, will he get you 200 strikeouts? Yes, I think so. But, like, I don't think he's going to be close to 250 like he was last year. Like, he's been that guy pretty much his entire career. Just maybe a strikeout an inning or just right below a strikeout an inning. And he's usually, 3.75-ish ERA, like 1.25-ish whip, like.
I just love the ballpark improvement for him this year. I just love the ballpark improvement.
So are you saying Texas is going to be more of a pitcher's park then?
I think it's going to play like Houston.
Yeah, I think it'll play neutral to a pitcher's park. And a lot of people always call, Minute Maid a bandbox, but they don't actually know that bandbox is more of a pitcher's park than a hitter's park, just because
like if you take out like the bottom, like if you took out like the Crawford boxes, like it'd be one of the most pitching heavy parks in the league.
Yeah. And that's even with moving center field in.
Yeah, the Hill. God, the Hill cost me a live final back in the day. Let's not talk about it. And they moved in they announced they were moving in the fences like a week later. I was like, are you serious?
So yeah, that was my guy, Lance Lynn.
That's your guy?
Yeah, that's my guy. Like,
my God.
I've been a fade on him since November. I haven't understood why he's even. Like, he's been going up all winter, and I don't understand it. I just don't get it.
He's just stable, right? Like,
but I mean, he's just a guy, right? Like, you can go down 100.
But if he goes 200 for 200 strikeouts, call it 14 wins and a 3.6 ERA, like, isn't that good for pitcher 44 off the board?
Yeah, but see, I never think about terms of like 44th pitcher or what. Like, I think about the type of player I can get in that spot, whether it's a bat that I'd rather have, like there's those closers that are going in the same range, that's unless you want to just dumpster dive for saves. Like, he's not a guy that I'm just like, oh man, I gotta have Lance Lynn.
That's fair. Yeah, I think I like the idea of Lance Lynn more than the actual like owning of Lance Lynn. I'm actually going to check on the other screen. I'm going to slide a screen over here real quick onto my third monitor. I'm really curious to see how many shares I actually have of Lance Lynn. Because I bet you're probably right. Like, I think I have more than I have. Let's see here. And if it is high, then I'll just say it's high. I can't give away, like, every single one of my plays. But, like, I think in nature, like, naturally, I think that I have a lot of him, but I bet you I don't.
And here's another hot take for you a little bit. Like, what's the difference if we're going to compare my two faves? What's the difference between Woodruff and Lynn? Nothing.
I think Lynn's better.
Yeah, but I mean, like, just looking at Steamer, the bat, they're essentially literally the same guy on the projection systems, and Woodruff has less Ks. So it's like, okay, so Woodruff's going to go almost 3 rounds ahead of Lance Lynn. Like, so out of the two, if you force me to get one, I'm going to take Lance Lynn. But those two just, I've been wondering all year, and I'm loving the fact that they keep going higher and higher before March.
Yeah, I actually only have one share of Lance Lynn. That's very surprising. I would have guessed that number.
Yeah, because he's just a guy.
I would have guessed that number was way, way, way higher. Okay, that's pitching. So let's go ahead and let's slide over to catcher then. We'll kind of do these in the traditional order. We'll just kind of do, I mean, I guess catcher, like you kind of just have to pick one of the big four. I mean, I think we're both going to agree, like, I haven't talked to you about this, but you're not touching Gary Sanchez at that ADP, are you?
Yes, I am.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, Gary Sanchez is my guy. I'm not touching him. Like, if I want a catcher, like, just give me JT Realmuto 26 picks earlier. I am just, or let me go down to Wilson Contreras, Salvador Perez, Will Smith.
I'm talking out of the big four. I'll take Gary out of the big four.
Oh, yeah, no, I would take JT every time, and I wouldn't touch the other three.
See, I was on JT before his ADP went up. Like, at early draft season, JT was almost going, like, pick 60, you know. And that, I was loving it. But, like, he's getting into that Buster Posey, like, phase where he's going to go in the third round, you know, in these drafts.
Yeah, I won't get him in the third round, but he's not there yet. He's fourth, fifth turn.
I'm priced out at that point. Like, at
I'd
60,
be priced out.
Absolutely. I love him there. But in the third round, no, I'm just not going to touch him there.
Yeah, his ADP is only 48, so we're not there yet. But I agree with you. Come mid-March, that's probably where that's going to go. Especially in those 15-teamers, there's always going to be the one guy that just wants him. So, yeah, he won't make it out of the third round come the main event season, which is actually like 1 week away, starting with New York, which sounds crazy, but we are here. Okay, so you'd rather have Gary Sanchez at 75. For me, I just can't take on that much batting average risk that early. Like, and it's not even risk, it's kind of just like it's going to be bad.
Yeah, but I mean, I usually kind of build up my average early up in drafts, maybe more so than some. I'm very kind of cognizant of it, so it's kind of like you kind of have to know you're going to target a Gary Sanchez before the draft even starts, if that makes sense, because you know you're going to have to cover the batting average.
Yeah, I just like to leave the batting average whole for later in the draft than like use it up in one of the first 5 rounds. Like, I would just rather have it in like round 9, 10, 11 if there's a guy that I think, you know, can really contribute like in this power and speed categories but has a batting average question. I'd much rather use it on that type of guy than like committing one of my key picks to a guy who's had injury issues. I guess DH is a little more open than maybe we thought earlier in the season with Judge and Stanton injuries, but I personally, like, those first 5 picks are building blocks for me, and I don't want any of them to have that kind of a big weakness. So if I was fading one of the big four.
What do you have Gary Sanchez for? You think he's going to bat 232 again?
Like 242?
Yeah, I think he's going to be closer to 250 to 260 this year.
I think that's a pipe dream.
Yeah?
He hasn't come close to that since 2017. Like,
I'll tell you what. I'll take the over. You know, last time I made a catcher bet, it was with Paul Sporer, and Mike Zunino won me that bet. So he's still
was that the Zunino career batting average year?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Great.
So I'll take Gary Sanchez over 249.5.
Yeah, all right, I'll take that for sure. We'll discuss the number off air, but yeah, I'll definitely take the end. The last time I made a batting average bet last year was with Vlad on Alberto Mondesi, and we literally split, like we hit the number right on the dot after he hit like 100 after coming back from that shoulder injury. I wasn't tilted or anything by that. I was like, you should have just stayed hurt. Just stay hurt. But it was kind of funny. It ended up right on the number. I was like, all right.
What are the chances, right?
Especially when he was batting like 275 the whole year. It was looking great.
Yeah. So who's your first base guy?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's no other catchers really to talk about. I'm fading Carson Kelly this year, by the way. I was super heavy on him last year. Couldn't pay me to take a share at this age.
You know who's really big on Carson Kelly? You know, I don't really care to kind of talk about him, but Eric Heberleague or whatever his name is, the guy that's in every single draft, fucking loves Carson Kelly.
I loved him last year. I had him just about everywhere. He's never going to get the playing time to pay off this ADP.
Yeah,
like Arizona's just
like
so
Stephen
convinced
Vogt.
to play multiple catchers.
I like Stephen Vogt as a sneaky little catcher right there too.
Yeah, he's the guy that I'm targeting if I get stuck in 15 teamers for sure. All right, so first base, the guy who I'm fading. I mean, Pete Alonso's too obvious. Can we just skip him unless you really want to defend him?
No, yeah, like everybody says fade Alonso. So
I think we all know that. So let's not like rehash what's been discussed 100 million times. Which actually makes this a lot harder if you take out Pete Alonso, which is why I think everyone does it. Oh, boy. I mean, I kind of think Paul Goldschmidt's washed. And
wow.
I thought this last year as I was watching him too, but I could just see it be a rebound year for him.
I mean, he started off slow last year because I had him, so like it was disastrous. Like his first month was disastrous, but like he just picked it up in the second half. Like he wasn't like the old Goldschmidt that we know, and you can't really count on the steals anymore. But I think he's 100 type guy with a solid batting average still.
I'm just worried that the Cardinals' offense is worse than we think, and he's not going to get to the 100.
Yeah, that could be the case too. I personally like him. I would.
Would you take him over Rizzo? I can't do that.
Yeah, out of Rizzo and Abreu, I think Goldschmidt still goes number one for me.
Really? See, I think I would just take the. At that point, I just feel like I know what Rizzo is. I can plug him in for 285, 25, and 100, and I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about the fluctuation.
Yeah.
I think Golden just has way more.
The Cardinals always have that magic. I mean, like they just always find a way to make players happy and players.
Tell that to
happy.
Euro Munoz, who just got cut, and by the way, is a really, really sneaky pick. If you're like in a 15-teamer deep, I would take him immediately because if he gets claimed by Detroit or Baltimore, he's starting immediately and playing like 145 games.
Yeah,
and he's like got some skill. He will get claimed by one of those bad teams.
So my first baseman's a little bit down. I didn't try to make it hard just because pretty much all the top 10 to.
Let me guess, Danny Santana, like that's been hurt 150 times.
No, Yuli Gurriel. Yeah, like he's not a 30 home run hitter. Like
we're not drafting him as that though.
Huh?
Why does everyone need him to like? We're not drafting him as a 30-run home run. He's a number 16 first baseman off the board.
Yeah, he's going in the top 150 basically.
So what do you think he is? Like 20? You think he's?
I think he's what he's been in 2017 and 18.
I mean, yeah. If you think the home runs are going to fall below 20, then sure. But
yeah,
I'm not so sure.
I think he's closer to a 15 to 20 home run type hitter. Like he's a line drive type guy.
So you would just take Justin Turner over him every time, basically, is what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I can see that point.
I see Yuri Gurriel almost in the same light as like Daniel Murphy, almost 100 picks later. Like a solid batting average guy, but he doesn't really have any homers, but he can contribute in some runs and RBIs.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. Like, would I take him over Edwin? Probably not. The problem for me is I just hate the guys below him outside of Edwin, like Luke Voigt, Christian Walker, Jock Jams. Like, ugh, boy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like any of those guys either, but it's just I'm usually going somewhere else. I'm just not going to pay the price, and don't really understand Yuli's price either.
Yeah, I get it. Sometimes I just get stuck and I'm like, I don't want any of these crappy first basemen. Like, gotta take someone. I definitely have done the emergency yearly Gurriel pick because I just don't want to get stuck with. Like, there's a big drop off outside of those like top 15. Like, I try to get Carlos Santana, but where I get sniped on him, like, I normally just sigh and.
Yeah, so there is a drop off of like, I think after Hoskins, and you can count Carlos because he's kind of in that range too. But like after him, it really drops off. But there's a sneaky like 2 to 3 guys kind of late that if I don't get one of the top guys at first base, I'll go to.
Yeah, I really try not to get to myself to that point because it's just, yeah. Especially because there's just not a lot of I know it's a little early to think about this, but like there's just not a lot of open first base competition this year. Like,
yeah,
a lot of teams are just kind of locked into guys, and I know guys get hurt and things will happen, but this year more than others, it feels like 20 to 25, maybe even more than that, like 25 to 28 of these teams are locked in at first base. And it's like, if you get stuck with one of these bad guys and you can't get rid of them, that's tough. So I think first base is weaker than we've seen in a long, long time.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's move to second base. Gleyber Torres is too obvious unless you want to make a case to defend him.
No.
Okay. I think everyone is just... There's a couple Yankee truthers out there that like him, but you couldn't pay me.
Who's drafting him? Like, I don't know anybody that's drafting Gleyber.
I actually saw someone respectable take him in the third the other day, and I meant to write it down because I wanted to ask them in Vegas what the hell they saw. Because I like to have the case for both sides, and I'd yet to hear the Gleyber Torres case.
And I mean, I had Gleyber on a ton of teams last year. So, like, I loved him last year. But it's just, like, okay, if you're betting on him being as good as he was against the Orioles this season, like, come find me in Vegas. We'll make a bet.
Yeah. So there's two guys up here that I'm kind of fading. So I'll let you go first and pick one so I don't pick your guy.
All right. I'm going Max Muncy.
Oh, God, we are going to vehemently disagree. Okay.
I'm just on, like, again, just kind of looking at what the Dodgers lineup could be. I'm trying to figure out playing time.
It's Gavin Lux. Don't overthink it. He's the guy who's going to get the short end of the stick. Don't think about it. It's Dave Roberts. Don't overthink it.
Yeah, no, I get that fact, but it's like defensively, like, I don't know. Muncy's not, like...
He's better than Jock Jams.
Of course he is. I'm talking about at second base. Do you really want Muncy being like a full-time second baseman for your team? Like, I don't know in real baseball if they want that. Like,
but he'll be the defense. So, like, they'll bring in Gavin Lux as defensive replacement for Jock Jams, and they'll slide Muncy to first.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I'm not worried necessarily about him. Like, I don't know. I think he'll play 130 to 140 games. So just below a full-time player. But at that price, you need a full-time type guy. Like, and his batting average is kind of low for me. Like, he plays in that pitcher's park. Like, I don't know. Like, I understand the lineup's going to be better with Mookie and stuff, but like, there's just too many question marks there. And, you know, the top 100, they're just so good that if you have a question mark on a guy, it's kind of like you can find somebody else that you like.
Yeah, see, I think it's all upside with Muncy. I think everyone's kind of just fearing the worst for Muncy, and all it can do, like, the worst thing that's going to happen to him is 450 ABs like he got last year, right? And so, like, what happens if Jock Jams gets hurt? Muncy plays. What happens if Lutz gets hurt? Muncy plays. What happens if Justin Turner gets hurt for the 100th millionth time? Muncy plays, right? So, like, even if an outfielder gets hurt, right? Like, who's the next guy in? Max Muncy. So there's just so many ways where Max Muncy can become a full-time player that it only can help him. And yeah, like, we're not drafting him as a guy that can go hit 260. Like, it's possible. He definitely has that in the range of outcomes. He's got all that versatility, too, which can really be helpful to you, especially as the season moves along. He can play basically everywhere other than shortstop, which
That's
is just...
cut line Siege talking.
Even if it's 12 or 15, that helps you. Like, just being able to move guys around. Like, we mentioned that first base is so weak. Like, having a guy that you can slide over to first if one of your guys gets hurt and you can go get a third baseman or a second baseman is just so helpful. I'm a Muncy guy. I think that we're kind of fearing the worst because everyone loves Gavin Lux. And this is one of those situations, if you like the player, you would make the excuse for the playing time. And if you don't like the player, you make this excuse against the playing time. So I really try to make this neutral this year and try to just be like, what is the situation where Muncy can get more playing time for everyone, for all these type of guys? And I'm a Muncy believer. So, yeah, I'm going to have a lot of Muncy. I have a bunch already. I'll probably keep getting more. I will say, though, the ADP is starting to climb. Like, if he starts getting to Whit Merrifield range, which I've seen in some drafts, like, that's too much for me. But, like...
Yeah, I'm just concerned, you know, the Dodgers love to, like, they love their little, you know, AJ Pollock, you know, is he going to play more? So you got to count on him. They love, you know, Kike against left-handers. So he's going to play. He's going to be in the lineup. So it's like, you got all these guys stealing at bats. It's just, you know, the Dodgers kind of
these things always work out, though. Someone always gets hurt.
I get that, but, like, I hate counting on an injury.
That's why you couldn't pay me to touch Gavin Lux, by the way.
Yeah, I'm yes. agreed on that. But it's just kind of like some teams, like it's the Dodgers to me are almost like the Rays light, and nobody talks about it ever. How the Rays use all 26 guys on their team. The Dodgers do it a very, very similar thing. Just they're not so upfront about it.
Yeah, I just feel like Muncy's the guy as like the lefty in this group that's not going to get hit the most, right? Like all these other guys you mentioned are righties that they're going to swap in and swap out. Like Muncy's the consistent lefty here.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. He's going to lose at bats against lefties.
I mean, that's not necessarily the worst thing in the world if you're looking for better batting average. Like if he's sitting against Bumgarner, like okay, cool, thanks.
Yeah,
I'm cool with that. That's not necessarily like a negative by any means. And then if he comes in the later innings, then even better. So my guy, you actually didn't take either one of my guys, so this is really frustrating. Boy, both these guys are so overdrafted. Let's go with Jonathan VR though. And it's just simply because last year he was an accumulator. He played all 162 games. I just don't think you can count on 642 at bats again. Like that's just going to be an outlier. And we're drafting for every bit of it. Like you're counting on like the 2040 where he's going in drafts, and that's just not going to happen again. The baseball's not the same. The park is way worse. I just pass on VR unless you're playing cut line where he'll be eligible everywhere. But
so you're not you're not a big believer on what he told Craig Mish then about
the 90 stolen bases.
Yeah.
If he does that, it'll be a rough season for me. I think I have like one share super early on, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna stop that now.
Yeah, Villar, he's kind of been my nemesis, so I kind of stay away. It's like, he had that big year with the Brewers. What was it, 2016, I think, and then the next year he just flopped. So it cost me a lot of money because I was just like, okay, I'm in on this guy. At least I'll get steals. I wasn't really a big believer in the home runs. And then the next year he came out and he was better again. And then, last year he kind of had his career year. I'm just kind of like, yeah, if he beats me, he beats me. So I'm with you on this one.
The other guy, too, that I was choosing between was Ketel Marte. Like, hello, baseball alert. Like, he's a guy that's been putting up, like 10, 12 home runs every year. It's batting 260, then last year puts up 32 and 300, batting 330. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think the homers come down, but I think the lineup got a little bit better around him.
Are you a Starling Marte guy? I'm just gonna I do not understand the helium on Starling Marte at all.
I am a Starling Marte guy at the right price.
All right, we're gonna talk about him in the outfield because spoiler alert, that's my outfield pick. I do not get the helium at all.
All right, well, yeah, we'll get to him. As far as Ketel though, I mean, I'm not opposed to him, but
I would just take Altuve every time. I got to be honest, I would just take Altuve every time.
Yeah, I mean, Altuve's a guy for sure, but yeah, I don't know. I just seem to kind of be focusing on other players usually around this range, just because I like a lot of late second basemen.
Me too. I have a couple that I love, and if you've been in any draft with me, you know exactly who they are. Brandon Lout. Or if you see me on Twitter complaining that everyone's talking about a Brandon Lout platoon when there's no Brandon Lout platoon on the roster. Yeah, I'm waiting for everyone else to realize that.
You should be pretty happy though. Like he hasn't really moved in ADP at all. Like he's kind of been pretty steady.
I really just need that the last 2 more weeks. I am just apparently on an island. Like I keep looking at the roster and I'm like, and all I hear is Brandon Lout platoon, and I'm like, with Joey Wendell, he's a worse version of a lefty.
Well, I mean, welcome to the Tampa Bay Rays.
It's possible, I guess. But I mean, it'll be possible when someone gets hurt and like Daniel Robinson comes up, but I'll worry about that when that happens, I guess. Let's slide over to shortstop. This is going to be hard because other than Gleyber Torres, I have bought every single one of these guys at some point. I guess VR too I haven't bought. But I've bought every one of these other guys or have no interest. Like I don't hate any of these guys in the top 100. I'll let you go first. Like I actually have no idea who I'm going to pick here.
All right. Well, then you'll absolutely love this and probably hate it at the same time. But I am not a buyer, not even close to being a buyer on Trevor Story. And I love that he keeps having this March helium. He's been a fade since November. Like, there's just some very, very big warning signs that he's getting worse, not better. And the Rockies, who knows what they're going to do, but just the injury possibility to a lot of warning signs for me, as far as the bat goes, and especially on the road. Like, I don't know. I'm not a believer in Trevor Story at all.
I got to be honest. When you first started, I was like, that's interesting, but I'm thinking about it more, and if I like, Mondesi, Baez, Bogarts, Machado, Bichette, Correa, why the hell would I ever take Trevor Story? Like, I just, like, you made me think of that now. Hadn't thought of it to that point, but thankfully I haven't been in a spot to draft Trevor Story in forever. I'm using up all my top 3 picks, I feel like, in the last month. I keep getting them, and I still don't have any Mike Trout. I still don't have a Mike Trout share. It's unbelievable. Like,
I think my first draft I got a Mike Trout share.
I really regret not taking a Mike Trout share when I had a chance, but I was just like, oh, I'll be able to get a share of him later, when I keep drafting second. And every time I draft second, he goes first. And it was like, will someone just take Yelich or Acuna one time, please?
Yeah.
So I can get a Trout share. I just haven't found. It's just really frustrating. The next time I get the first pick, I'm just gonna have to take Trout just so I get a share. But if I get the first pick, I guess. But I'm with you, actually. I kind of see the point. Like, if you like all the other shortstops, then why would you pay the premium for Story?
Like I kind of said earlier, it's, the top 100, I think, is by far the best kind of top 100 we've seen in a while. So it's like, man, if you have even just a question mark or a little gut feeling or whatever, like, you can find somebody else. Like, so
I kind of feel like making the same case for Francisco Lindor.
Yeah, I mean,
we know what he is. He's steady Eddie. He's super consistent, but the team around him is as bad as ever. And it's like, if you like Baez and Xander, like, I love Xander. The fact that he's been going in the 5th round in some drafts lately has just drove me nuts. Like, why would I pay for Lindor? I guess the question is, who the hell else would I take? Like, that's probably the fair question to ask, but when you look at the list of shortstops.
I know who you're going to take at shortstop, so
Alberto Mondesi? If I can get him.
Yeah, but we'll see. I'll wait to see where you draft and where you KDS at, because I don't know if you want that information public or not.
I mean, I think it's pretty. I think the whole world knows if I can get my hands on him, I'm going to get my hands on him, right?
Yeah.
Biggest regret last year was that I didn't take him 16 overall in the main. Like, if I could have it back, I would have taken him 16 overall in the main.
Yeah. Well, I mean, KDS 15, and you can have him at 16 this year.
I don't want to deal with that kid. I don't want to. I drafted 15th last year. It was hell in a handbasket. I have no interest in drafting there again. It will be 15th on the priority chart.
Yeah.
Right now. And obviously 1, 2, 3 will be 1, 2, 3. So you got 4 of my 15 slots ready to go. Okay. Let's slide over to third base. Another set of ADPs I think are pretty consistent. I'll go first on this one, and I know that I haven't really talked about this publicly yet, but I've done a lot of research on the Twins and their home run barrage from last year, and I think people are in for a very rude awakening this year. And so, while I have him in a spot or two, for me, Josh Donaldson's a guy that I'm just not trying to get down to if I can avoid it. I think people are overestimating the effect of Minnesota on him. I think people forget that he's really been injury-ridden his entire career. Last year was one of the healthiest years he's had. The Caves were way up. I really think it's a trap. I think people are going to really regret this when he gets hurt in a cold Minnesota game in April.
That's what I was about to say is he's never really had to deal with the weather. He's always been inside a dome, or he was down south with the Braves last year. So it's like, I'm kind of with you. He is a polarizing player for sure. He always seems to be a guy though that, like, the same people take him year in and year out. It just seems.
Yeah, for me, give me Suarez 10 picks later. Much better ballpark, much better lineup, much better division. Like, last year, Minnesota got the best of the weather in Minnesota. I have this, like, long thread of tweets ready to go. I'm just trying to find the right time to send it. Basically talking about how they played, like, an unreal amount of home games during, like, the peak of Minnesota weather. And this year, it's going to come out to be way more, like, neutral. And given the ball too difference, I think people are way overdrafting Twins.
Yeah,
but I know that's a really hot take, and no one is like. So that's why I've got like wind pattern graphs and weather and humidity. And the day I want a Twitter fight, I'm going to post it. But I haven't really been in the mood for a fight in a little bit.
So you mentioned him. My fade's Suarez for sure.
Really?
Like,
why?
Yeah, even with the discount, like it's just not enough for me. Shoulder injuries, like they just tend to linger and linger and linger and linger. And he's a power guy. That's what you're buying him for, is to lift the ball. So it's kind of like, he hasn't been an injury prone guy his entire career. The fact that he's kind of, to my estimation, a little bit rushing to get back just so he can make opening day, I don't think that's really good. I mean, he just had surgery in February.
It was loose cartilage, though. We're not like talking like a shoulder repair. Like it was just like removing loose bodies.
Still, like from what I'm speaking to my partner that I draft with, Matt Shepard, who's a trauma surgeon in California, and basically if he is kind of giving me some info about the type of surgery that Suarez had, and that he thinks that it's going to affect him, I have no experience of myself to kind of combat him with, so I'm just going to believe him and what he sees from the medicals, and let Suarez beat me if that is the case and he's healthy and ready to go.
Yeah, see, the problem for me, again, is, like, Suarez is kind of like the end of a tier. Because recently, Moustakas has been going over Suarez. Like, I know he's right below him in ADP, but realistically, Moustakas has been going higher than Suarez.
Yeah.
So it's like, after that, there's just a whole bunch of guys I just have negative interest in until we get to Justin Turner, and there's only one Justin Turner. And then after that, it is just until you get to, like, Tommy La Stella, who is criminally underdrafted. But
I really think, I know we're doing fades, but, like, we keep mentioning Justin Turner, like, I think he's one of the most underrated guys, like day to day being on your team. We all know he's not gonna stay healthy for the entire season. That's why he's going where he's going. But like when he is playing, like he's easily, I think, a top 60 player.
He's gonna jump in March. Like there's gonna be someone in every room who takes him in like round 8.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see.
I mean, if he stays around 160, like I'm perfectly happy jumping up to 150 to get him right before the first break.
Yeah,
that'd be great.
There you go.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Okay, Suarez is your fade, huh? I thought for sure you were gonna tell me like DJ LeMahieu or Jeff McNeil. I'm really surprised that you went to Suarez.
I mentioned I'm a batting average guy, so I could be easily on both of those guys.
Ugh, Jeff McNeil feels like a total regression candidate, but I keep taking him too. But I feel like I'm gonna be in mid-May and go. Remember when you didn't like Jeff McNeil in your damn head and you took him anyways?
Yeah, he's easily one of those guys. But then when he's doing the exact opposite, then you look like a genius. You're like, yeah, that's why.
I knew it. That's why you trust your projections.
Yeah.
Damn it! I tried to make it the whole show without coughing. Oh well. Outfielders.
You mentioned it earlier. What's wrong with Starling Marte for you?
The helium. The helium is ridiculous. Like,
yeah, I mean
round 2 for Starling Marte for what?
Yeah, since March 1st and the 12-team drafts, he's at 24.
That's ridiculous. Arizona's a horrible park for power. Like, unless you think he's going to steal like 35 bases, like.
But again, you're not necessarily buying Marte for power, are you? Like, you're buying him.
What's the difference between him and Charlie Blackmon?
The steals.
We're talking about like a 2-round gap now.
Yeah, it's
George Springer's a 3-round gap. Like, yeah, it's getting ridiculous. Like,
yeah,
Austin Meadows is the same type of player, and he's got a ceiling.
Yeah, he's that kind of like last guy, right? That kind of has 5 category type stuff where he's not going to kill you in homers, and he's almost guaranteed for 30 stolen bases. Pretty averagely, yeah. I mean, like I would put Marte in the bank for 30 stolen bases, but if he's going to keep going higher and higher and higher, like there's some draft plans that you can kind of get around that will be implemented. I'm very curious to see just overall what some of the top players do regarding speed this year.
Can I just say a hot take? I think Starling Marte goes in the first round at a main event in Vegas in the room on Saturday.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous to me. Like, I'm sorry. That's just... We already see the men's 14 in the 12-teamers.
Didn't Todd Zola take him 13th overall in TGFBI?
Maybe. I think that's who it was.
Yeah.
That to me is just... You're drafting all the profit out of it. Like... I mean, whatever. I can't say anything in October before we had ADP. I took Alberto Mondesi 12 or 13 overall, so...
Yeah, I mean...
I can't say
I don't
much.
know. I don't look at trying to win every draft spot, right? Because I just know it's almost impossible. Like, you're gonna churn over your roster. So it's just like if I really, really believe in a player and there's another player I really believe in, I don't mind like let's just say I was in love with JD Martinez and Starling Marte. Well, I only can choose one of them in the second round. But let's just say I wanted both of them and I really think highly of both of them. I could take one in the first and take one in the second, and I get both instead of one. So, I'm more not necessarily go get your guy, but I mean, take a stand. I mean, who cares if it's earlier than ADP? But
you could give me Starling Marte in the 5th round, and I would then have to start thinking about it. Like, Arizona's a bad place for hitters. The lineup's not that good.
I think it's better than
strong
than
pass.
I think it is. But
Ketel Marte and Escobar are like the biggest ball regression candidates in the world. And then outside of that, you have Christian Walker, who swings and misses a million times. Like, what else is even on that team? Ketel Marte is going to regress. Escobar is going to regress. Carson Kelly, Christian Walker, David Peralta, Cole Calhoun, Nick Ahmed. Yeah,
I mean,
I'll
see.
take a pass.
Don't forget, he played in Pittsburgh and now gets to play.
Pittsburgh, by the way, gets some really sneaky road ballparks. You get St. Louis, Cincinnati, Milwaukee, Wrigley. Like, you get some really good road parks in that division. And in the NL West, you get one. And the other ones are all horrible.
It's by far the best ballpark to hit in.
I would not... So you would rather take 9 games in Coors than, 30 in Cincinnati in the summer? Like St. Louis and Chicago? No way. That is a downgrade.
We'll see.
And, the rest of the NL, too, I do not... I think Starling Marte is the helium guy that busts this year. For sure. I have no interest in him. All right, so did you pick your outfielder yet, or have I spent 20 minutes on Starling Marte?
I have not. This is kind of a weird range because I don't necessarily hate any one of these guys. I don't want to take the injured guys that are dropping, because that's kind of like as far as Stanton and Judge, but man. One guy I wanted to be on, I guess, and I think he's even going to go higher. And I just kind of stopped focusing on him just because I just knew I wouldn't, wasn't going to pay the price come March. Is Luis Robert. Not to say that I wouldn't take him. So I don't know if it's a fade, but in this range of the top 100, he's probably the guy that I would fade out of all of them. At best he's like a 2020 guy, which is very serviceable. And
I was thinking that he's stolen a base in every spring training game, and I was rethinking the 20 stolen bases. I have to admit.
Yeah.
I have one share because I wanted a share.
Yeah.
But now I've every time he steals a base in a spring training, I know spring training doesn't matter, but when you steal a base literally every single day, I start wondering if 20 is too low.
Yeah, and it easily could be. I don't know. He's.
Would you take him or Victor Robles?
Well, if Robles is going to start at the top of the lineup, I'll take Robles. Just because I think even though he doesn't hit the ball hard at all, I think there's room for him to grow, and I do like that he has more at bats at the major league level than Robert. I think they're very similar as far as hitting profiles. I think Robert probably has a little bit more power once he fills out, but I think they're pretty similar. And I think Robles just kind of has the better lineup possibility than Robert.
Yeah, I hate Victor Robles. I'm a notorious Victor Robles hater. I was very happy to finally see someone else was on the hate train with me. I don't think he's very good. I think it's all hype. And I also don't think that leadoff spot's going to last long. Like what's going to happen the first time they go on a 5-game losing streak? Like the most obvious swap in the world is going to be move Trey Turner to 1, throw Victor Robles at 8th, and shake it up. And it's inevitable. Yeah. It's a baseball season. Like they're going to lose 5 games or 5 out of 6 at some point. Like it just happens. So to me, I just feel like that's like they're starting that way. There's just no way they end up that way.
Yeah.
I just also think it's for all the reasons you mentioned. The hard hit rate's terrible.
Yeah.
The average exit velo is bad, and it's just. I get it. Like he can go 15-15 and not killing batting average, which at this point is nice, but give me Laureano. Like much more stable. I think at that point, if you're going to take Victor Robles, just take Laureano. Like he's a better player.
So what do you think of this quote unquote? I'm not even going to say this is a hot take, but I'm going to throw it out there as my conspiracy theory. So the rumors of Puig going to Chicago, right? Everybody thinks it's just to get Nomar Mazara out of the lineup, basically, and that's where he could play. But let's just say that is the original plan, but then Robert starts the season super slow. Do you think he goes down and Mazara goes back in the lineup with Puig? Do you think that would be a possibility at all?
Not after the game of the contract.
Yeah, but if he's not ready, he's not ready. Who cares about the contract? I mean, see the Astros.
I just can't imagine that they trade for Mazara and then change their mind. Like they just took on that contract, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean they just traded for him this offseason.
Yeah, that feels kind of very far fetched.
I'm just trying to understand.
Puig to Miami's still gonna happen. Like it's just gonna happen. Miami's gonna. It's just Puig's probably just being stubborn and Miami's being cheap, and they'll figure it out 2 days before opening day.
Yeah.
Like, it just makes way too much sense. Like, Cuban player in South Florida, if you know where the stadium is, it's perfect. Just do it. Stop overthinking this. That just has to be the spot.
You got another guy in the top outfielders?
Yeah. Let me scroll down.
I'll tell you.
Danny Santana's a cheat code. Don't you dare use him.
No, Kyle Tucker. Fade that guy.
Are you
just
serious?
Keep fading Kyle Tucker.
Yeah, you're joking, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you love Kyle Tucker. I got him super late the other day. Let's see how many Kyle Tucker shares I got. I'll see if I can show you. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Not bad. 4. That's good.
Not great. I think I own him on every single team but one.
Was that the auction that I did with you and I outbid you on him?
Or maybe it's 2. I don't know. I know I have double-digit shares. He's by far my most.
I remember outbidding you in the auction, I think. I'm pretty sure that's one of them.
Yeah, I think I went into that auction just
knowing you weren't going to get out. Yeah. Yeah, it was I bid DC up on Jordan in that one forever.
Yeah. I think everybody was bidding up.
Everyone bid me up on Modesty, too, because they knew I wasn't going to stop. And that was definitely crazy. The meta was unbelievable.
It's one of those players too, though. I made sure to get all my shares early, just because in March, I don't know what's really going to happen with Kyle Tucker. He's been dropping and dropping and dropping because everybody just doesn't like him. And then he started 0 for 13. Spring training stats matter. That's why I'm and then he had that 3 for 3 day with the home run. I'm stop, go. I need him to do well enough than Reddick, who Reddick, by the way, has sucked all spring as well. But we all know he sucks in general. So it's I don't know. Kyle Tucker, though, I need him to be good enough to win the job for Dusty Baker, but then bad enough where he doesn't get on anybody's radar and he keeps falling.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty tough to
I'm not asking for much, am I?
In terms of the outfielders down here, there's actually not a ton that I'm just
yeah, this is kind of the range where I'm buying.
I don't have any Ozuna shares. I can't imagine a world in which I end up with Ozuna. I'm just going to target another position. It's not I hate him.
Yeah.
But I just can't imagine a world where I'm going to draft Marcell Ozuna he's going to be the top player on my board, ever.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, usually around 75 to 150, I'm buying pretty much everybody in this range. I guess if I had to choose one, Andrew Benintendi.
That was the other guys I was choosing between. Yeah, I don't have any shares. I just haven't picked him anywhere, and I don't hate him. It's just
like he was my big like breakout guy. I really believed in him last year.
Me too.
He's kind of like Robles. He just doesn't hit the ball hard, really, and it's just kind of like, is he just going to kind of be this like 10-10, 15-15 type guy? You know, like with that Ellsbury hype. Remember how Ellsbury was going to be this next guy, and it was like he had that one great year, and then it was just kind of like, like
he tried to be a home run hitter last year. And he's not a home run hitter.
Yeah,
I do think leading off could help him like get back to the batting average ways and 16-20, and I should probably pick up a share.
There's a lot of variables for him, and I think that's why I end up going somewhere else, just because it's like I don't really know what to make of Andrew Benintendi.
Yeah, like the guys after him, I just know what they are, like Franmil Reyes, Kyle Schwarber, who's probably going to go above Benintendi.
I think he's more of like a safer type play, because I don't really see the upside with Andrew Benintendi, but like as long as he plays, he'll have a nice floor. But usually in this range, I'm looking for a little bit more upside, which is weird to say for a 25-year-old player.
Yeah, like Reyes and Schwarber, even Brantley. Like, if I want the consistency, I'll just wait 2 rounds for Brantley. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Or Lourdes Gurriel Jr., who I love this season. Love.
Yeah.
People have been starting to take him above me. But, by the way, when I saw he's going to play some first base, because I know Travis Shaw hasn't hit a beach ball this year, I quietly have been trying to pick up, like, in some cut lines, I've been quietly, like, logging him as my 5th first baseman. So, like, if he does get those appearances super quick, I can dump like one of my crappy first basemen, because Gurriel's gonna be awesome. And if he was at first base eligible right now, I'm trying to think where he'd go. If he was first base eligible, like I think he would go right around Trey Mancini, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say Mancini, Hoskins area.
Yeah, so like that's like solid 40-50 point pick value. So I hope that report doesn't really get out there, because
I think. I don't know. I would say a lot of the Sharks and the NFBC kind of already have thought that through.
Yeah, he's been starting to rise. I've been having to try to push him up a little bit farther than I was kind of comfortable with to start getting him, but I definitely am a huge Gurriel guy. Early in the offseason, though, I could just get him whenever I wanted. No one wanted to touch him. And now people have definitely come around to him in the last few weeks. So, all right, is there anything else you wanted to mention before we get out of here?
No, I think that we pretty much covered it.
Yeah, thanks again to Scott Jenstad for coming up with the idea for this format. I think it was really enjoyable and really helpful.
I love listening to his. Hopefully everybody enjoys listening to this. And just remember to fade Kyle Tucker. Like, do not fade Kyle Tucker.
Yeah, okay. When we're at the money line, I ask you how many Kyle Tucker shares have you drafted? You'd be like, 7. How many drafts have you had? 7. Or you'll say like 5, and I'll be like, how many auctions? 2. Oh, man. Hey, at least you're going to go down with the ship. I remember last year, right before May, I was doing Memorial Draft. I was like, hey, should I take Yordan Alvarez or Kyle Tucker? You're like, Kyle Tucker. No doubt about it.
Yep.
Yeah, womp womp. That's okay. That team was so bad. I don't even think Yordan Alvarez could have saved it.
I'm going to win in the long run. I'm going to win in the long run.
Not even Yordan Alvarez could have saved that Memorial Day team, so fear not. There was nothing that could have been done to save that team. So, really appreciate it, guys. If you haven't already, subscribe to Arbor Pro. Use the promo code YouTube and get, what are we offering? 40% off? Is that what I said? 40% off. Why not? Even if it wasn't 40% off, it'll be 40% off now. Check that out. We have a ton of draft boards I need to load. I've got a bunch more. My auction values are up there. My rankings are up there. All our draft boards are up there. Well, most of mine are. I'll upload the rest here in a little bit. Articles. Dusty's going to do waiver wire articles during the season, so check it all out. ArborPro.com. If you haven't already, we'll have the link in the description with that promo code. Really appreciate it, guys. We'll do a couple more of these heading down towards the end of March. And Dusty, if worst comes to worst, buddy, I'll see you a couple weeks in Vegas.
Yeah, for sure. Can't wait.
All right. Thanks again for everyone for listening.